Dear friends, today I will show you how to open white using Ruy Lopez opening. It is one of the oldest and most popular chess openings ever. If you remember the Italian game opening, where white develops his bishop at c4, and Ruy Lopez, white develops his bishop at b5, pinning the knight at c6. There are many variations for Ruy Lopez. We will look at exchange variation and closed variation in this video. So let's start with the exchange variation. This move bishop b5 characterizes Ruy Lopez. Bishop c4, for example, would lead to the Italian game which we discussed in the previous videos. Here, a6, black challenges white's bishop immediately. White has to make a decision here. Should he play bishop e4, keeping his strong Spanish bishop on the board, or should he exchange it? Both moves are well playable and lead to different positions. This time, we'll look at the move bishop takes c6, where uh, d takes c6 in return for his damaged pawn structures. Black has two bishops. White moves d4, where um, e takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, and knights take d4. This position shows the basic Ruy Lopez exchange variation structure. White already has a better control of the center and has stuck black with double pawns. These double pawns can either be a weakness or a strength depending on how black uses them and how white fights against them. In the late endgame, with many of the pieces traded off, this double pawn will be a big problem for black because his pawn majority on the queen side is nullified. On the other hand, white's pawn majority on the king side be able to convert it into passed pawns. With pieces on the board, however, this double pawn is a less of a liability. Aside from the pawn's majority problems for black, he does have an extra half-open file available that white does not have. Both sides have the open D file to use, but only black has half-open E file, leading towards E4 pawn that could be a potential target. Next is Ruy Lopez close variation. Instead of taking the knight after a6, white's main move by far is bishop a4. The main idea behind black's move a6 is that after the usual retreat bishop a4, black always has the opportunity of playing the move b5, breaking the potential pin against along the e4 e8 diagonal. After bishop a4, white has to be careful to not fall for a common opening trap in the Ruy Lopez, the noose arc trap. If you want to play the Ruy Lopez with white, you definitely need to be aware of this trap. Many chess players who start playing Spanish fall for this trap and have resigned in less than 10 moves with white. Let me show you how you can trap into this. In reply to d6, black moves d4. This, this move seems logical at first glance. However, black has a strong response at his disposal here. Yes, b5, attacking the bishop. So bishop moves to b3 and then knight takes d4. Black grabs a pawn. White has to recapture once, so knight takes d4. Uh, e takes d4. Here, black is currently a pawn up. However, it is key for white to not take this pawn and on d4. Have a look. Say for example, a queen takes d4. This apparently looks logical, but can you spot black's winning combination here? Ready? Yes, pawn c5. Black traps the bishop on in the next move. Here, queen has to move to d5, attacking on the rook, but black, bishop e6 attacking on the queen as well on the as well on the bishop. Black's best try here would be c6 check, but bishop d7. Now you have to save the queen as well as bishop is also hanging in the next move. But here queen d5, and now the pawn c4 and white loses a piece here. So friends, this is Nuzak trap. You should be aware of this. However, d6 is not black's main move after bishop a4. Main line of closed Ruy Lopez goes knight f6. Blacks develop a piece and simultaneously attacks white pawn on e4. White castles and brings his king to safety. Now it is interesting to see what would happen if black takes the pawn at uh, e4. However, bishop e7 is the main move, introducing the closed Ruy Lopez. Black threatens to win a pawn at b5, followed by knight takes e4, so white has to react. But first let's see what happens if knight takes e4. In this variation of the Spanish, black plays the surprising knight takes e4 to deprive white of one central pawn. Black's king will be temporarily vulnerable but can taxi itself to safety while white is busy regaining his material. The variation with knight takes e4 is called open Spanish. d4 is the thematic attempt to get rid of black's strong pawn on e5, according to the old masters. b5, black usually kicks the bishop here and then plays d5 after bishop to b3. Then d5, d takes e5, and bishop e6. This variation has been debated quite a lot between many chess players. White might have a slight edge here, but there are a lot of interesting variations for both sides. Let's go back where bishop played e7. So and white's pawn is under attack. So white not only protects his pawn on e4 by rook e1, but also threatens to play bishop takes c6 and knight takes e5 with himself, winning a central pawn. b5, a common move for black to force white's bishop to leave the a4 e8 diagonal, this one. Bishop b3, then d6 protecting the pawn, then c3 and black castles. This position is considered to be the main line of close Ruy Lopez. Here white can either play d3 or d4 or the main move h3. With this move, white prepares to play the move d4 without allowing the the bishop b4. Now black has many different moves at his disposal, all leading to well-known variation. Say knight a5, this move introduces a Chigoran variation. With this move, black chases white's bishop away from a2 g8 diagonal and free his c pawn from the queenside expansion. Knight b8, this move introduces by Breyer variation. b7, bishop b7, this move introduces the Z-Swift variation. Bishop d7, this move introduces the Kaprov variation. However, bishop c2, of course white does not give up his Spanish bishop. c5 and d4. We have reached one of the main positions of Chigorin variations. So friends, this was all for today. Hope you have have some idea about the Ruy Lopez exchange variation and close variation. In next few tutorials, we will keep looking at Ruy Lopez other variations. Till then, do subscribe the channel and do like this video. Take care. Bye bye.